Hello everyone, my name is Danny. This review is going to be for the movie called Astra. This is a 2019 film. It is rated PG-13. It runs about 2 hours. It's directed by James Gray and it stars Brad Pitt, Tommy Lee Jones, and Ruth Negga. The description: astronaut Roy McBride travels to the outer edges of the solar system to find his missing father and unravel a mystery that threatens the survival of our planet. His journey will uncover secrets that challenge the nature of human existence and our place in the cosmos. Astronaut Roy McBride travels to the outer edges of the solar system to find his missing father and unravel a mystery that threatens the survival of our planet. His journey will uncover secrets that challenge the nature of human existence and our place in the cosmos. This is Ad Astra. Well, we've seen ad after ad for Ad Astra and Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones. And so that's the reason to go see this movie. And that's why I went to go see this movie. I'm not as sold on it as other people because everybody's saying that this is like Brad Pitt's like best performance ever. And I just cannot believe that. I've got to believe that he's done stuff better than this, because if this is the best that he's done, then I'm not impressed. But after going to see it, there's a lot I like. There's a little bit of a weird feeling, so we'll get into it. The great stuff is the fact that it's in space and all the scenery and the zooming out shots and everything. All that stuff's great. Just gonna turn that like that. Thank you. So that stuff is all grandiose, very big. You know, I saw it on the IMAX screen, which even made it look bigger. And so all of that is fine and impressive and all that stuff. And the music that goes along with this is pretty suspenseful. I don't think it needs to be playing the whole time, but we are in kind of a silent feeling for this entire movie as is. So the little bit of music that they play, I think, is a break from the norm of being so quiet. I'm so happy that I was in a theater that didn't have people coughing and sneezing and being on their phone, because it really would distract in a movie like this. So you might have some bad experiences when you go to see this in theater, if you're going to go see it in theater. But it's a very quiet, very tense movie. And if anything happens in your theater, it's just going to distract from the whole thing. You might miss something very important. So, I only saw one person go to the bathroom that I know of in my theater, and she missed a really vital scene. So, you got to kind of stay through the 2 hours too. Like, it's kind of tense, but there's really important things happening along the way. So, those are my kind of good things. As good as the acting is supposed to be, it's just really not. I didn't care for it. I never care for this style of two people sitting across from each other and just kind of one person saying, "Oh yeah, we'll get right on that," and the other person is straight across from them, and they're like, "Oh, okay, good, yes sir," and that's it. And then when you have the conversations between the astronauts, that's kind of a monotone little thing, and they have these psychological reports all the time, and those get really redundant and old right away. They just get kind of stale and kind of repetitive, and it's almost like they are trying to turn into a movie that they don't want to be when they have those reports, because it's over and over again. It's kind of the same thing, and we've seen it so many other times, and probably in some good movies like Avatar and stuff, that guy is giving his reports all the time, but it's not always effective, and it doesn't just because it's in a good movie doesn't mean that it is that great of a thing to have in a movie, if that makes sense. I think the acting was kind of the biggest thing for me. The storyline, I can't give it away. Like, I don't want to give it all away. I don't want to talk like nobody's going to watch this review and, down the line, I'm talking like everybody's seen the movie. Because I don't think that'll be the case. But the storyline is very much this thing happens, that thing happens, oh, we're going to react to that thing, oh, we're going to do this thing. Not all of it makes sense. And I'm not going to nitpick because I don't want to get into details, but the timeline doesn't really make sense at one point, and the common sense of a couple things don't make sense. I think this is more or less a sci-fi movie because I could tell you how to fix some things in this movie just by using common sense, and usually movies that go along that kind of line aren't trying to be realistic. They're trying to go out there and stretch the the mind of its movie and the premise of what's possible. And so I think if you're like a smart person or you're very critical or whatever, I'm just critical because I go to see so many movies and I like to do my videos on them. So I could fix this movie really quickly. I could say, send a nuke or something. I don't want to give anything away, but that would be one fix to this movie is send a nuke. But there's some other things to talk about after you've seen it with friends, family, whatever. There's ways to fix this movie from happening the way it happens, because it tries to make sense of it, and it's trying to sell you on this idea that everything works the way it worked. And I just don't think it quite lived up to what it needed to, and I don't think it quite sold it as much as it needed to. So I followed it all, and it all is fine. It's dramatic, but that doesn't mean that it makes any kind of sense. So I think that's the biggest criticism for me. The acting's fine. Most of the astronauts and the people on different planets are fine. There's one receptionist that just really is out of place, almost like she belongs in Guardians of the Galaxy or something, and she just seems completely out of place for this movie, and she kind of ruins the whole vibe. That planet ruins the vibe of this movie. You're not really sure where it's going, but the people are just so out there and have their own agendas. And I think it just mixes up too much. And it kind of turns the mood of this movie a lot. And then it kind of gets back to it once Brad Pitt kind of gets his spotlight put back on him. So, initially I was kind of worried about this movie because, it's long, it's boring, it's drawn out, it doesn't make much sense. And I think that's kind of what I'm left with, the feeling of it. It's a big movie. It's in space. It's impressive. It's going to impress a lot of people because Brad Pitt does play a good character. I just don't think he plays the best character that he's ever done. And it was disappointing to me. And I don't think I'm being harsh on it. I just think that I'm being realistic, that I expect more. And when I'm using my common sense watching a movie, I like things to make a little bit of sense. And when things happen in this movie the way that they happen, I understand why the movie is doing it that way. I just wish they would have done it a different way. And so I'm always going to feel that way for the rest of my life. If I ever think back to this movie, I'm going to be like, oh man, that's that one that had that thing happen. And oh man, I really would have done that differently. So I just don't want to remember this movie very fondly, so I'm going to give Ad Astra a C- and move on with my life, saying that I've seen it. I can't say I'm a big fan of space movies, so if you think I'm being harsh on it, I'm sorry, but a lot of these space movies are just very drawn out. They're very slow moving. They're very, this thing happens, no real surprise elements at all. just kind of drifts into the next thing. And I think this befits that category of long, drawn out, kind of boring space movie. Sorry. C- for Ad Astra. Thanks a lot, guys. My name's Danny. If you like this or my other videos, try and get some of them watch. Like and subscribe to my channel if you would. And enjoy your movies. Thanks.